Okay, excellent. We are live. This is Addy Ads. You can call me Attican if you like, but regardless, I'm here with a very special guest, Miss Pyasa Siff, Pyasa Neko Siff, author. And I actually bought Miss Siff's book. I'm reading it right now. I haven't finished it, but I do want to discuss it today. It's going to be one of several subjects which we will be discussing, among other things. And I just wanted to thank everybody for tuning in on my channel and or the Neighborhood News Hour channel as well. We welcome anybody tuning in over there. So wherever you are in the world, USA, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, United Kingdom, or otherwise, Ireland, Scotland, etc. We thank you for joining aboard. So I wanted to thank you, Miss Pyasa Siff. Yeah, thank you, Pyasa, for coming on the show again. I think we had a great chat last time, and I hope we have another great one today.
Thank you. That's my intention. Thanks.
Definitely. So I wanted to talk about your book a little bit, but before I ask any questions, I was wondering if you could give your, I don't know, just a synopsis for anybody who's not familiar with your work, because I'm sure we have some new viewers in the audience today, and they'd probably like to know what you're all about.
Cool. Well, like Addy said, my name is Pyasa, and I like to call myself an evolutionary activator, as something to just encompass all of the things that I am, which is I'm a certified somatic sexologist, sexological body worker, intimacy coach, and yeah, so evolutionary activator. I'm here to activate the evolution on this planet so that we can create a better world. And for me, that's about healing our traumas, deepening our intimacy and connection with other humans so that we can rise up out of fear and isolation and feel safer in our bodies and more present to be here so that we can collaborate and create the world that we came here to create, rather than living in so much fear and complication. That's my
Sure. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Excellent. Thanks for that introduction. Yeah, and I've watched several of your interviews that are on YouTube as well. Pyasa has a great interview with Jeff Berwick, which I highly recommend people go and check out. But there's also other interviews that she's done in the past where she talks about her work. She's also been featured at the Anarchapulco convention in Mexico as well. Did you want to discuss that? We briefly glossed over it last time, I think.
Yeah,
but
I
go ahead.
I love Anarchapulco. I've been a speaker there for the last 2 years, and I was on the main stage last year speaking about trauma, and in particular the trauma of infant male circumcision, which I feel is one of the original wounds that is inflicted upon the male population on this planet. So I was talking about that and how we can release trauma from our system. And then I also lead very playful but deeply profound workshops on emotional release. And so, yeah, I'm going to be there again this year. That's the plan. And yeah, I just love it. It's a place where people are coming together, free thinkers. Anarchy is not about chaos. It's about self-governance. You know, it really means that we have to heal our own conditionings and step into our sovereignty, our personal power, our personal liberation. And in that way, I believe that we can create a better world. So yeah, Acapulco, Mexico. It is just people coming together from all over the world, and it's a big party with a really good intention. Yeah.
And this year got canceled because of the pandemic, correct?
This is to be seen. There is talk that it's actually going to happen. I cannot promise. I cannot really say at this moment. But if it's happening, I'm going to be there, and I invite everybody who's watching this, who is a free thinker, to come. If it happens, it's such an amazing place to collaborate. to meet people from all over the world. And, also there's a lot of talk about intentional communities. At this time, people are starting to come together and bond together and support each other for these wild and crazy times that we're in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What since it's a nice dovetail, what do you think a bit about this year 2020, Pyasa?
Well, it's a shit show. That's the first thing to say. And, I would say that, like life and all transformative experiences, it's like initiations aren't necessarily fun. Like, if you ever worked with plant medicine or ever did any kind of deep transformational work, there in healing, there's the time where you're just diving into the shit and it feels extremely difficult. We're in this birth canal and we're in pain and suffering, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. That's what I believe. We are just in the middle right now of the most difficult time. And I do believe that we are entering into more light, basically, but we have to go through the darkness to get to the light.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting time period to be alive. Definitely the craziest year of my life. Really up and down, really, really like roller coastery, just for me personally. But I know for everybody, it's been, that's the thing. It's like it's so in mass, when in terms of humanity, this effect. But your book I wanted to talk about is called The Intimacy Adventure Playbook. And I want to show the cover there to prove that I indeed have the physical copy. I much prefer physical copies of books to audiobooks. I do like audiobooks though, and Kindle books. But there's nothing like having the real thing. And I will, if I didn't put it in already, I will put the Amazon link in the description box. But 33 provocative explorations, and it's organized into chapters. Here, let me do this. Organized into chapters of, with name like appreciation, harmony, and listening are the first three. And goes to, imagination, nurturing, reciprocity, responsibility, silence, sharing, sensuality, cultivation, healing. So in a lot categories in that sense. So 33 chapters in total. And I just wanted to ask you how you wrote the book. Actually, what was your writing routine like? Did you wake up really early, or you like twilight working, middle of the day? What was that like for you, Pyasa?
It was a really magical experience writing this book. I never had an intention to write a book. I actually had just returned from an all-women's retreat where a lot of women were asking me about how do I, create more intimacy with my partner. And a lot of women were expressing that they were struggling in their connection, in their partnerships. And so when I came home, I actually had some more questions in emails, and I sat down to write a response to an email. And then I just kept writing. And 3 days later, I told my partner, I'm writing a book. It just happened. And then actually I did create rituals around it. I would light candles. I would get my crystals out, and I would set the intention to just really channel as many tools as I could that would support people in, the subtitle of that book is 33 Provocative Explorations for a Deeper, Hotter Love Connection. So, when people hear intimacy adventure, everybody associates intimacy with the word sex. And what this book is about is creating the foundation for having the best sex that you could ever have in your life. But it's not anything about sexual positions or things like that. It's about dropping into receptivity, cultivating intimacy, connection, communication, and touch skills.
Do you have chapters that you like to focus on, or that maybe come up a lot in when people ask you questions or anything like that? Like, what do you think? Chapters come to you in that sense?
You know what? I forget what chapter is what, to be honest. So I don't know. I did 4 chapters that are just deep inquiry, and it's really about practicing active listening skills of really hearing one another, because so often we're not even paying attention to each other, especially in this day and age where we're using our phones, and we are just on fast speed from the whole digital world. So there's a lot of inquiry for those chapters of that. Some of the chapters are meditations that people can practice together. Lovers can practice together. Some are, for expanding your touch skills, because, so many people think that when they want to learn about sexuality and they want to have better sex, that it has something to do with sexual positions. But I'm here to tell you that it's really about deepening the quality of touch and bringing our presence to our sexuality. Like, our full-bodied presence is the most important thing in having good sex.
You have a chapter called, it's on page 86, called No Mind, which you got from Osho.
Yeah.
Or it was inspired by Osho. Could you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, that exercise is actually directly from Osho. And Osho was a master of creating active meditations. So, when we think about meditation, we typically think about sitting quietly and, clearing the mind and being silent. But Osho understood that Westerners have a really difficult time to do that, especially in the modern age. So his approach was active meditations. And this means that we do some kind of activity to purge our mental thoughts and our physical stress in the body, to get to the place where we can finally actually come to that stillness. So the no mind meditation is actually using gibberish. I think there are some traditions that might call gibberish glossolalia. It's speaking nonsensical language. You don't use any words, but you, like any known words or of any language, but nonsensical language to purge the mind. So it would be like, right? We're just making up and using that as a way to actually also express our emotion, because we are so suppressed when it comes to a lot of emotions. We have shame around anger or grief, or you can't even, it's like there's judgments on even being so happy, then we're too much, right? So this is a way that all that stuff that we've dampened down, that all the energy that we've repressed, the emotions we've repressed, it's a way to get it out of the system so that that doesn't create dis-ease in our body. And it's a way to then come to stillness. And so I included that because it's a way to bring people into the present moment and release the stress of the day, of the past, and be present with each other so that they can have a better sexual exchange.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, excuse me. I got to eliminate the echo there. But Osho is someone who I've heard referenced a few times from people I've followed in the past. Like, there's this one YouTuber, Elliot Hulse, who I used to watch a lot in high school. And he really cited Osho as a big influence on him. He talks a lot about active meditation. Could something like exercise be used as that, or is that a different concept, would you say?
To bring ourselves present.
Yeah, this is a form of active meditation. Maybe not in the same sense that Osho meant that, though.
Sure. I think that's probably why people feel, they feel good after they exercise. You move. Like, so much of my work, the work that I do, is about helping people get out of their heads and into their bodies. So exercise, yeah. And, so much of it, and Tantra and all of these things, is about being non-goal oriented. So if the exercise is, just purely for the sake of getting into the body and feeling the body and enjoying the pleasure of being in a body, sure. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's like a, unhealthy. Oh, I know there is like an unhealthy neurotic form of exercise, where it's like detrimental to one's health, right?
Totally, can be.
Yeah. And Osho, I wanted to ask too. Was he? Were there other ideas that Osho had that really, really resonated with you, like that one did?
Absolutely. Osho is the biggest anarchist of our time. And he is all about personal liberation. And really, he's influenced my life tremendously. So much of what I said about, becoming present and releasing our repressed emotions and all of that is really, I've been inspired by Osho and his message and his work and his discourses. So, anybody out there who has access to listening to what he has to share, I highly recommend it because it's all about self-liberation. That's what he's all about. Yeah.
What are do you have recommendations for Osho, like documentaries or books, articles?
Funny that you asked me that. I would absolutely say don't listen to that fucking Netflix story about Osho. That's what I would say. Because the people who put that together, they had an intention and an agenda behind how they were presenting Osho. And I'm not saying that there were not people in that, in what became an organization around Osho that had bad intentions or, malintenciones, but, they really put him into a bad light. Unless they've taken them down on YouTube, should be lots of material of Osho discourses and that you can listen to that are out there. There used to be. I haven't looked for them lately. I have a very large library of Osho discourses. He talked for years, for hours every day. And any of the books that you're going to find, he never wrote them. It's all people dictated what he wrote and put them into books. So there's a lot of books, a lot of material out there.
Didn't he? I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but I heard he they made their own like kind of village or something. Is that true?
Absolutely. My partner Vinaya lived there in Oregon. They've actually made their own town. I was going to say city, but it was a town. They had enough people to create a town, and they did this legally. And at that point, this is when people really got triggered. The rednecks who were living around there, and they were scared of these people who were sexually liberated, who were not the normal church-going kind of people, and so they shut him down. Basically, they kicked Osho out of the country. They arrested him and kicked him out of the country. There's a lot of really bizarre stuff that happened there because Osho was helping to liberate people. That's how I see it. He was really helping people to get empowered, and that scares people.
And was that in the United States?
That was in Oregon. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, I did not know that. I heard it. I think it was in an interview between two YouTubers that I think it might have been Frank Yang and Elliot Hulse. I can't remember, but I think he mentioned that, and I was like, wow, that's pretty insane. So they just threw him out. And when was this? Do you remember?
That was, I believe, it's the 80s. It was in the 80s. Actually, what they did is, the U.S. has a big control over and connection with all the other countries on this planet, most all of them. And he was, once they arrested him and had him in jail for some time, they then put him on a plane and he was going to fly and he wanted to land in different countries and they would not allow him to land. So he ended up eventually returning back to India. He was in Greece, I believe, and Portugal for a little bit, and then made to leave there. I don't remember the story exactly. My partner does, because he also lived at the ashram in Pune, India, with Osho for about 10 years, which was just, it was one of the most radical places to be on the planet in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow. Fantastic. That's a lot of great info there. I did not know about Osho. I'm definitely going to look into him more. But yeah, I just wanted to list off a lot of these chapters. But before we do that, I just wanted to share an excerpt, well, not an excerpt, but a quote by this guy, Mr. Joseph Kramer, PhD in human sexuality. And he says that in this age of non-stop digital distraction, couples need effective resources to help them celebrate their relationships. Intimacy doesn't just happen, it comes with practice over time. These cards will encourage and direct your ongoing practice of intimacy. Commit to more truth-telling, playfulness, and mindful touch. Get these cards. I just wanted to ask about your cards and that quote. I just wanted to read that because there's 3 more quotes here. I won't read them all, but I just wanted to share one of those quotes. So, let me unmute you there. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, Joseph Kramer is an amazing human. He is actually the founder of the sexological bodywork training that I did in San Francisco. And he actually was able to get this profession legalized in the state of California. It's not legal in the rest of the United States, although it is legal in most of the world. And so he's brought his work into Europe, into Australia. I think the center is now in Australia. And yeah, Joseph Kramer, PhD. He started the sexological bodywork profession, and he is my mentor. And that is the testimonial that he gave for my book when I shared it with him before I published it. And I want to just clarify about the cards thing. So if you go into my website, intimacyadventure.com, there is a page that says, I think it says Intimacy Adventure Playbook. And when you go on there, you will see that I had a little digital card deck made. So you can click and have it shuffle and then click again, and it'll give you a card so that you can go back to the playbook and use it. It's kind of like using an oracle, right? It's like, okay, what intimacy exercise do we need to use right now? So it's a playful way to let the universe tell you what would be most beneficial for you. And my intention was to create it into an actual card deck, like a tarot deck, but I have a lot of projects going on and I never got around to that. So I just had the digital deck made. Maybe one day somebody can follow that up and create it for me. But yeah, I got into making documentaries and all these other things and retreats that I'm having and blah, blah, blah. So,
wow.
So it's a digital deck. That's the answer. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And I will put the link to that website, Miss Pyasa Siff's website, in the description box below if people want to check it out. But I just wanted to ask also about some of these chapters here. So I'll just list a few of them off. Appreciation, harmony, and listening. Again, were the first 3. Tenderness, gratitude, devotion, surrender, honesty, adventure, presence, forgiveness, vision, cooperation. Just a few of them that I mentioned. There's 33 in total. Why did you arrive at 33 for the number?
I love 33. And after I wrote 33 chapters, I thought that was probably enough in time to move on to something else. Yeah, I don't know. Something just seems magical about 33. I'm not a real numerologist or anything like that.
Okay. And then I wanted to ask you about tuning in, which was chapter 23 on page 75. Let me just read the beginning here. One of the more ambiguous titles, I would say, of the chapters. In this modern world of stress and overstimulation, tuning inward towards the senses can give you the space to rediscover your primal sensual self. So it goes deeper into that, but I just wanted to share that first sentence there. If you could talk about tuning in, Pyasa.
I don't remember what that chapter was about. Can you tell me?
Preparation. Inform your friends and family of the timing of your fast.
Right. Okay. Yes, that is basically a digital detox as well as a talking and communication fast. If you've never done a silent retreat, I highly recommend it. It's actually one of my dreams at one point to provide the space for people to come and just have the experience of being in silence. I used to many years ago when I lived in a community in Colorado, and every Wednesday we would fast from food and speaking, and it's just it's a really powerful recharge and way to tune in with yourself. And yeah, I do include that. I do private, individualized retreats, and so maybe I'll do 1 day of silence, like for integration. But I have yet to create the space for people to come to just go. The dream is to create a space. It's kind of like you go into a little luxurious hut, and I will have food delivered to you, and you don't have to do anything, talk to anybody for a few days, and it's just a very transformational experience. Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you a couple more questions about writing the book, because just asking from the perspective of, say, there's a young person who wants to write a book, right? What questions would they ask? And I guess, what did you learn about this experience writing this book, and maybe a misconception you had about writing a book that you no longer had?
I mean, I guess so much of it comes down to just trusting yourself and tuning in. There's that word again, tuning in, right? So when I would light the candles and maybe smudge my space with some sage or light some incense, I was bringing myself to center so that I could be just really clear and focused. And it's like setting the scene, right? Everything in the playbook, intimacy adventure playbook, I always say start everything off, any of these exercises, with sacred space. And sacred space is what takes us out of the ordinary reality into, more present time. So I would say that if you want to write a book or you want to do any kind of writing exercises of any kind, set the scene, create the space. You have to get yourself away from distractions. It's difficult to do if you have interruptions. That's one thing. So yeah, if you talk to my partner Vinaya, he's going to tell you that he just served me that whole time. Basically, he was making food, and he would come to the door and be like, "Nope, don't talk to me." I had big boundaries, during that time, because anytime I would get interrupted, I would get out of the flow. That's a big thing. Is really, when we create that setting, we can get into flow and allow our creativity to come out, to flow out of us, which is a really important thing for all of life, really. Yeah, any creation.
Definitely. Excellent. Yeah, I something I noticed too, yeah, just with switching tasks, right? In terms of productivity, there's an opportunity cost with like you mentioned, or you implied, with the attentional switch, right? Where you have to like lose your attention to what you're doing, switch, and then switch back, right? As opposed to just, staying focused the whole time. Yeah, I definitely noticed that. And I was talking to someone before about it. And for you, is it like, would just sound more distracting to you than something visual, would you say?
I am definitely really sensitive to sounds.
Okay. Yeah.
Or just somebody talking to me, it'll just interrupt my flow, and then I forget what I was thinking and I lose it, right? So it's really important, I think, to in life and in writing a book, to create boundaries, to really express what your needs are so that you can, you know, establish your space of creation, right? I think it's important. Yeah.
Would you have any other general productivity tips? Maybe do you drink coffee, or are you not a coffee drinker? You know, anything you do to help you focus, really.
Smudging helps me focus. And then actually, you know, one of the things that I share with my clients, and something that it's a tool that came to me that I learned about more later, is shaking, right? So when our nervous system is in fight or flight, right? Which most of ours are. And so no, I don't drink coffee. Very rarely. And whenever I do, I realize that was a mistake. That is not something that my nervous system needs. But shaking is an incredible way to release stagnant energy and calm down the nervous system. Because anytime that we experience a trauma, we get a lot of adrenaline and cortisol. And like going back to what's happening right now in the world, you know, there is so much re-traumatization around people's sense of security and what's going to happen next. And, you know, we don't know. So there's a heightened level of adrenaline and cortisol for so many people. So bringing that back to preparation for writing is, you know, meditation. And for me, it's active meditation. It's dancing, movement, shaking. Actually, last night I was writing a web page, the text for a new web page. I write all the time for a new web page. And what I did is I put on some music. I wrote the initial thing and then I was editing it. And then I put on some music and I was dancing around the room, and words would pop in, words that felt really important to me, like words like activation or receptivity, right? And then I'd go over to my computer and write it down and get that into the mix. So for me, movement, somatic expression is so important, and clearing ourselves, the shaking can really help. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Pyasa, for that. That was a good explanation of kind of your process and how you put pen to paper, so to speak, even if it is digitally. Are you planning on writing any other books? And you have a blog or anywhere people can find other future writings, possibly?
I don't have a blog. I just recently got very active on Instagram. I had resistance to the whole Instagram thing for some time, and I just recently got super activated over there. And what I've been doing, I never had a plan for this, but I've started to make very humorous. I know I'm making people laugh because I hear about it. Humorous, short little videos that are under a minute that have a message. And so I started a little series called Adventures with the Higher Self. And it's all about how the higher self is calling you to remind you of something to basically keep you safe. Maybe you'd have to say, and I rewrote the Pledge of Allegiance and some other things that are humorous, but actually very serious. So my blog has been doing kind of like video blogging, I guess, making little videos. And I write a lot. I write a lot on my Instagram posts. So I've been having fun there, but maybe one day I will make a blog. I have so much material, I could just throw it all out there into a blog. Yeah.
And what about a second book, maybe? Or is that something you don't really plan? Because it seemed like you didn't plan the first one, really.
You know, I have had the messages to write a book about actually my own personal experience in life, and at this moment, that is an endeavor that I don't know that I can take on. My life is quite full at the moment just with my work, and that feels more important at this moment. Yeah.
Sure. I wanted to ask about Costa Rica. And I think you've been there the whole year. Just your experience of this whole situation, right? The pandemic, the plandemic, whatever you want to call it. Well, what has that been like over in Costa Rica?
Well, you know, my experience has been Initially, I had just finished a retreat up in on the mountain here, and so I ended up staying there for 4 months after the borders closed. I was going to leave. I don't live here typically, and so the borders closed, and I was up on the mountain, very not isolated from other people because I have like a spiritual family up there, really, I guess you could say, friends and family. And so it was just my experience was really going deep with the river and the woods and the earth. And then at one point, I had a lot of webinars happening. And so I moved down to the beach here in Dominical, Costa Rica. And I've been at an eco retreat center, which is just like 15-minute walk to the beach. And so it's been a whole nother experience. And really, basically, in terms of COVID, did I say that word? You have to put on a mask if you go into the stores. And this is a tiny little town. I mean, we have a little tiny health food store and maybe like just a few little tiny, restaurants. And you don't actually have to wear a mask in the restaurants. It's so relaxed. It's really relaxed. And the borders are open again. People are starting to come down. They don't have to have a COVID test. And I do believe they have to have some kind of special medical insurance at this point, which is rather expensive or something. I'm not sure. It's changing every day. But the vibes have been very tranquilo here. I've been just in such a process of creation and really tuning in with the earth. And that's where I feel I've been getting a lot of messages that are a lot deeper than what the political experience is. And for whatever reason, I didn't need to be like some of my friends who are in Australia who are allowed to go outside for an hour a day. I mean, this is inhumane, in my opinion. It is just inhumane. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty crazy what has been going on in Australia. I actually don't know anyone there. Oh, no, that's not true. I met somebody this week from Australia. His name is Bob. I'm going to talk to him. Just a citizen of, I think he's outside Melbourne. But yeah, pretty dark stuff over there in Australia. So you say you don't usually live in Costa Rica?
No, I was living my home base, and I have a home and property in Ecuador. I was living there for the last 10 years in a little expat community down there, very international expat community. And to be honest, for the last 3 years, I've known it was time for me to move on. And then being landed here, I realized the universe just decided to put me exactly where I need to be. I already have retreats planned here. I have an individual retreat starting next month. So people are starting to come down and see me here, which is a lot more accessible than Ecuador, really. There's a lot more transit. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's advantageous in that sense. What are the differences that you notice between the two countries? Because I love traveling, but I have not been to either Costa Rica or Ecuador, but I wish to go one day.
I think Costa Rica has had tourism and connection with foreigners for a lot longer. I mean, I think going back into their history, they even had just more interaction, like Europeans coming over, and so it feels more kind of Americanized or modernized than Ecuador. Ecuador really got, and I'm not a history expert, please don't pick me apart on the history of Costa Rica or Ecuador, but it feels like, my alarm is going off. It feels that in Ecuador, there was just so much more violence. People, and it's like felt in the system epigenetically, ancestrally. People have that trauma of the Spaniards coming in and killing, so many people and enslaving them. And I don't know that was happening here in Costa Rica.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, just Curious, because I do know there are patriot, as you said, expat communities in both of those countries. Do those communities seem to be growing in your eyes?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more people who want to come down to Costa Rica. Ecuador, when it first began, the whole lockdown, they went into martial law. And I think that that just made Ecuador a little bit less tasteful to people as far as travel. And also, it was put out there that they were having some of the highest infection rates with the COVID. Yeah, COVID.
So were as things as, because I'm sure you have contacts there in Ecuador, were things as bad as they were portrayed on in like Guayaquil, for example?
Right. Well, I guess what happened in Guayaquil is that people were so freaked out that they were just leaving bodies places. People didn't want to take dead bodies. You know, people are dying all the time. Were they dying of COVID? Not necessarily, but they didn't want to take in the dead bodies and the funeral homes and places like that. So it just became kind of crazy. And there are also, people who are talking.
There's like a jingling in the background.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna turn it off.
Okay.
Just a moment.
Okay. 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 Anyways,
Uh,
Guayaquil. Yeah. So people were scared of the bodies, regardless if they were COVID deaths or not.
yeah, I mean everything was getting categorized as COVID. So and people were scared. You know, the propaganda it just makes people afraid and scared, and and part of that is like killing people too. You know, there's old people who are dying of loneliness right now because they can't even have their families come and be near them. So, it's out of control. And, one more thing I want to mention too is Jeff Berwick, by the way, had 300,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel. And recently he had two strikes against him for speaking out and sharing his mind and sharing his insight into what's going on. And after those two strikes, I don't know if they took his channel off. I think the last I heard is that they just turned it off, and rather than lose the entire thing. But a lot of people are moving over to other platforms. I see you're on a different platform now. He's been on BitChute, is another place where people are able to talk about what's really going on because the rest of what is happening is censored, as I'm sure people are noticing. We are
Yeah, that's
freedom of speech anymore.
we don't have it anymore. No. Yeah, it was something I noticed too. I didn't know Jeff was if his channel is still up or not. I don't know, but that's no surprise because of the great YouTube purge, as I am coining it. Just happened, I think SGT report, X22 report, Sarah Westall, Amazing Polly, George Webb, who I've been working with here over the past like 3 weeks or so. He's probably the main reason that the Neighborhood News Hours channel got axed or ovened, nuked. So now we're Neighborhood News Studio. We changed our channel name. So, but I'm still here. So that's great news for me. I'm hoping it stays that way, but who knows? It just seems, they kind of censor who they want to.
It's disgusting. It's just a bunch of bullshit. It's just bullshit. And, I don't know where we're going. I can't claim to know where we're going as a humanity. But as I was sharing at the very beginning, I was kind of referring to what one could call the dark night of the soul. I think as a humanity, we are experiencing that. And after that is a rebirth. So something has to come out of this. We are crumbling, as a society. And things are just getting so polarized, actually, that, I don't know what's going to happen, but I do have faith that things are going to come to a clearer place. But I can't say that that's going to take, 5 years or 200 years. I don't know. As humans, we are insignificant, really, when it comes to time. And with time, I think that, honestly, I feel like we are living, and I think I remember mentioning this when we spoke back in months ago, that I do feel that there is a splitting of timelines. I mean, what I'm realizing is that there are people living the worst time of their lives right now. And then there are other people who are feeling like this is the best time they've ever experienced, like on a personal level. Not that I'm saying I know any people who are saying like, wow, this is great. We have to wear muzzles and we're not allowed to speak. Like, I don't think anybody's happy about that. But on a personal level, I think there's a lot of activation happening. I think people are, if they are doing the work, they're finding more liberation on a personal level. And that, I believe, as we continue to do that work, we can tip the scales of the collective consciousness, right? Like taking the stuff out of the unconscious and making it conscious. And there's got to be something, with this whole science and spirituality. I'm sure sooner than later, somebody's going to tell us that, yes, the 100th monkey, whole thing is true, that we can tip the scales, that if enough of us are waking up, that we can tip the scales into taking everybody on that same ride. If that makes sense, yeah?
Yeah, that was well said, Pyasa. I hope you're right in that way, because it's quite, I mean, almost every time I think about it, it's just like really perplexing how some people are just not, I don't know, not interested, or just maybe they are interested, but they're just not seeing the truth, right? Or for whatever reason, and it can be quite confusing why that is, why some people seem to get there, get closer, at least closer to the target than others.
Well, I think it's because people are in fear. Anything that is out of the comfort zone or new or different can be very scary for people, and they're used to their comfortable little lives, financed, or supported all by Walmart and all the other, corporations that just make everybody's life so comfortable and easy, that we've come so far away from a connection to the planet, to where, like, she is why we're all here. We wouldn't be alive without her and all of the elements of, water and the wind, and, so people who are really stuck in, I don't know what, the corporate, I'm not really sure what to call it.
The deep state, I don't know. For me, it's just like the brainwashing, and they fall victim to, or they just remain biased, regard. They kind of have a set way of thinking or a set beliefs that they don't feel like they have to change, like, or they even want to change. The openness, I don't think is there. I think is a big factor, not the only factor in it. But.
Oh yeah, I know the word. It's cognitive dissonance. That's what we're talking about. So we've been so deeply brainwashed through movies and through media, through the news and all of these things for so long, that when we hear something that's the truth and is something different than what we're used to believing, it creates cognitive dissonance. And then it actually even makes people irate, right? They want to fight each other, like, what, we're going to have a civil war now because we don't agree that, and we can't speak our minds? Can we not agree to disagree? Is that okay anymore? It doesn't seem like it, At least from where I'm watching from afar, and I'm just kind of like, okay, this is a show, like in spiritual traditions, we talk about the appearance of this world as Leela, as the play of spirit, right? So if we can, just have a little sense of humor and not take things too seriously and focus on our own personal experience and rise up out of victimization, victim mentality, right? Because we could be in jail. There are people who've been in jail and had, the most shit conditions, who are free, who are liberated, because this is something that happens on another level than what our external conditions are. And I think that that is the gift in what's happening right now. It's like, if you need to learn how to do that, maybe it's going to be even more intense. I don't know. I mean, these are just speculations.
No, those are great ideas, Pyasa. We got a question here from Deborah. Does Pyasa vote?
No, I vote with my energetic frequency and vibration, by the way that I live my life and the choices that I make and the products that I choose to support with my money. That is how I vote. I do not believe that by voting for this asshole or that asshole is going to make any difference. I believe in a completely different system. I believe in decentralization, and and then the people coming together, like the true People's Republic. So yeah, I don't vote, and that's going to piss some people off.
Would you say, because you went to Anarchapulco, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're an anarchist, but would you describe your philosophy as anarchist or anarchist influenced?
Yeah, and I think I've always been that way. I believe in voluntarism. Voluntarism. I always have a hard time with that word. Voluntary, right? Voluntarism is that we are going to participate in things by our own choice, right? I believe in sovereignty. I believe in self-responsibility, and that I don't even think that we have an idea yet what it would be like if we were to step into our own true sovereignty and our own true embodiment individually. If we all took that responsibility, what would the world look like?
Yeah.
I believe be completely different. So, yeah, I do relate with anarchy, although that is a really dangerous thing to say right now, considering especially what's been happening I think it's in Oregon, in Portland, Oregon, right? It's like, or in other places too. I am not identifying with that group of anarchists. So, I don't believe in chaos. That is not, if you look at the definition, the etymology of the word anarchy, it is without rulers. And when I say I am an anarchist, it's without a ruler. I'm talking about rulers being even conditioning, mental conditioning, the yeah, all of that.
Wow, I never thought about it that way, Pyasa. I wanted to thank you for that idea. Would you say you're libertarian influence at all?
Probably, but I can't say that I've spent a lot of time educating myself about it, even though there were Ron Paul was a speaker at Anarchapulco for multiple years.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah.
And I've heard about like two different forms of anarchy, like was it capitalism or capitalistic anarchy, and then the other one was like communistic anarchy. I don't know if you are familiar with any different branches like that.
I wouldn't be the one to describe it, but Anarchapulco and Jeff Berwick, he has what is called the Dollar Vigilante. It is about anarcho-capitalism, is about decentralization, because as probably a lot of viewers out there already know, if they're following you, Addie, is that the banks are controlled by a few, right? So, and we're all losing out on that. So I'm not opposed to having some kind of energetic exchange, and at this point, it's money, right? Okay, but the banks are controlled by the few, and the few are benefiting from that. So the whole anarcho-capitalist world is something in an answer to that. But again, I'm kind of focused on what my work is and bringing my work into the world. So I'm more on the, somatic sexual sovereignty aspect. So But most of my friends are anarcho-capitalists, libertarians, and voluntary activists.
What do you think about cryptocurrency?
I've invested in it, and it's going up right now. I think it's a good idea to diversify. I don't trust the banks. There's been a lot of talk about, banks collapsing, and I think that's a good possibility. I don't know if that's, next year or in 10 years or what, but it's all coming down. And so I think cryptocurrency is a good option. And, I make decisions through my body. I make decisions through what feels right in my body. And so that's what I would offer to anybody else. If you're thinking about buying cryptocurrency, just go with your intuition. If we try to figure it out with our minds, we have no idea. We don't know what's going to happen. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Pyasa. We've been going about 56 minutes here. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to ask you if you had any things you wanted to share with the audience that we did not yet get to.
What do I want to share? I guess I want to say, just make the suggestion to people to just trust yourself. That it's really a time of stepping into our personal empowerment and finding our own personal sovereignty. And specifically for me, it's around our sexual sovereignty, because there's so much conditioning around that, and our sexuality. We can enjoy pleasure and energies, vibrations of bliss. And I think we're here to uplift the frequency of the planet. We have been held down in some heavy vibrations, and it's time to uplift ourselves. And I'm here to support you and everybody in doing that. I have a lot of information out there through in my Instagram, where I told you I'm sharing some, comedy ways to bring some things that I feel are really important. And, I'm doing workshops and retreats, individualized retreats. Yeah, so it's time to free ourselves. My little, is it called a tagline, is unleash your life. It's unleash yourself. Get that leash off you, right? It's time. It's time, because we all need you. Like, you matter. Your vibration matters. If you get the kind of pun there, right? Your vibration matters. And that is what is creating this world that we're living in, is where we're vibrating at. So we need to clear our old traumas and come into relaxation, which is, love is a state of relaxation. And when we can come into that, we can see each other again as brothers and sisters and collaborate and make the world a better place, because we have to. It's up to us. We are the ones that we have been waiting for.
Wow, great oratorical skills, Pyasa. What is your Instagram?
I am Pyasa_unleashed. So I just changed my name the other day to literally, not I am, but to literally, sorry, IAMPYASA_unleashed. I am Pyasa Unleashed. And I have to say that there is such a vibration in changing our name, shifting things like that. I felt a lot less scared to share things like the new Pledge of Allegiance that I just put out there. I was, before I put it up, I'm like, I don't know how people are going to feel about this, but here I go. I had Vinaya make a little flag with my face on it, and it says unleash, right? So yeah, I'm unleashing myself, and my intention is to be an inspiration to others to do the same and have a lot more fun. If it all comes down to it, just more fun and pleasure. And yeah, and my my website is intimacyadventure.com. I invite you to check it out. I just put a new retreat that is coming up. Not yet, but I just opened it for, people can book now. And yeah, get in touch with me, call me. I do free discovery calls where we can meet and get to know each other. Yeah.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you so much, Pyasa. You beat me to my next question. I was going to ask your website, so that's great. You added it there. and I will edit the description. I actually didn't know Pyasa got an Instagram, so I'm going to go follow her right after we're done chatting, and I will put that in the description box below, so anybody else can subscribe to her, or excuse me, follow her on Instagram. Subscribe. You have a YouTube channel as well, Pyasa?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel. It's Pyasa Neko Siff. And I'm probably going to be shifting over to, I'll probably keep the YouTube, but I think I need to just move over to BitChute or something and join the rest of my family, because YouTube is just sucking.
Yeah, it's unfortunately where the traffic is, that's where everybody knows how to use, and it's, people are creatures of habit and all that. But yeah, agreed. BitChute, we're looking to upgrade our internet, so it's kind of, it's not slow, but it's kind of slow. And yeah, the upload speed we want to improve, and as soon as we do that, I want to transfer my stuff to BitChute. Right now, I've just been focusing on the brand YouTube. Do you have a brand YouTube as well?
I don't.
Okay, well, we'll have to get you on brand YouTube and Rumble as well. I think I sent you a Rumble link. I actually just made it. I only found out about it like 2 days ago. I guess you can monetize on there, but again, it just takes a bit to upload because they don't have the YouTube server strength, right? So
cool. I'm gonna check it out. And I want to thank you so much, Addie. You're just such a beautiful person. Thank you for bringing all the guests that you bring onto your show. You're an amazing human. Thank you for doing the work that you're doing. You're beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much, Pyasa. Likewise. Thank you, Miss Pyasa Siff. Let's do it again if you'd be up for it. Maybe post-election if we're all alive.
Deal. Let's do it.
Awesome. We'll see you all next time, folks.
All right. Ciao.
Cheers and stay frosty.